To be quite honest, many horror movies are a failure, either by critical backlash, box office disappointment, or both. That issue is usually compounded when you talk about franchises. And in the case of Friday the 13th, the fourth film, subtitled The Final Chapter, was a success and set the bar very high in the minds of its fans. Unfortunately, what they expected next did not happen. We got Friday 5, subtitled A New Beginning. This title has multiple nods to a new franchise direction and the path to pursue it, whether or not it would remain to be seen at first. Let's get down to brass tacks. In this video, I'm going to go over multiple reasons why fans have issues with Friday the 13th Part 5. I will also attempt to show how those reasons might not hold as much weight as it seems. Here are the reasons why you hate Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Number 1, no Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman was a huge part of the charm and success of the previous entry. Having a child actor be so prominent in a slasher horror movie is very risky to say the least, and it is not easy to pull off. Somehow, they were able to do it, and in the process solidified the final chapter as a benchmark in the slasher subgenre. Corey Feldman was a little too busy for Friday the 13th Part 5 because of his schedule being already taken up in order to do The Goonies.
Unfortunately, Spielberg fucked up all our plans because he decided he wanted me in a couple films. I was forced, quite begrudgingly, to participate in a little film called Goonies and not participate, as I would have liked, in the full version of Friday the 13th Part 5.
He did do the film's cold opening, where he sees grave robbers digging up the grave of Jason Voorhees. Feldman himself said that he wished he could have done Friday 5 instead of The Goonies. The truth of the matter, though, is that Tommy Jarvis, as a child, his story was already told, and there wasn't much more that they could do with it. This is especially the case because of quote-unquote killing Jason at the end of Part 4, a move that the studio decided to do because they didn't see the franchise moving past Part 4.
And you blew it! You blew it!
Feldman was no longer needed for the role, even though he was great in it. A time jump, meaning also an age jump, was a smart move, plain and simple. Number 2, characters and setting. Many fans will point to the film not having great characters, one-off characters, or not being set right at Camp Crystal Lake. The franchise has had numerous one-off characters all throughout its run. People who are shown in the film with little context and then killed off by the killer. A New Beginning may have had some characters that leave a lot to be desired, and I'm looking at you, Junior.
You tell him off!
Would you shut the fuck up?
The Rat-a-Tat-Tooey guy, and of course Joey, who by my calculations is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people in the franchise, all over a chocolate bar. Shame on you, Joey. If you didn't piss off, he wouldn't have killed you. If he hadn't killed you, Roy wouldn't have moonlighted as Jason and killed most everyone in the film. If that didn't happen, Tommy would have gotten his mind right and let go of the thought of Jason. If he had done that, he wouldn't have tried to burn his remains, which wouldn't have resurrected him, because Jason was actually dead, which means, well, you get the point.
What's going on?
All of that being said, there are awesome and fun characters in the film, even those that are not lead characters like Ethel and Demon. They brought us laughs, good cooking, and of course, some good singing, which warns us of those damn enchiladas.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Plus, who could forget Reggie the Reckless? One of the best child characters in horror. He not only was funny and charismatic, he also saved Final Girl Pam. Reggie was as memorable as young Tommy Jarvis. And speaking of final girls, Melanie Kinnaman's Pam was a great one. Smart, compassionate, sexy, and willing to risk her life for others, Pam is an amazing final girl and did what she had to do. The setting also was a breath of fresh air. Not a camp, but a place for troubled youths. This brought a different dynamic to Friday the 13th. The characters were there for a reason other than just going somewhere to party and hang out. Number 3, the sleaze factor. Some point to the fact that A New Beginning is perhaps the sleaziest and most gratuitous entry in the franchise. Full of trashy characters, profanity, and of course, nudity. The scene with Lana and her famous "It's showtime" is truly a sign of nudity for nudity's sake.
A couple weeks before that, I had seen the film All That Jazz about Fonzie, and he would throughout the film say, "It's showtime." And so I came out of my trailer, I went up to Danny Simon, the director, and I said, Danny, I said, I'm changing in the dressing room, getting ready for my boyfriend. I said, what if I did something really cute and sexy like it's... And he's like, I love it.
But don't forget about Robin and her topless scene that went on for quite some time, about a minute in total. Both of these, of course, don't hold a candle to Deborah Voorhees' scene. Her character of Tina and boyfriend Eddie sneak off into the woods to smoke and fool around. According to Crystal Lake Memories, director Danny Steinman, who had worked in the adult film industry, was yelling at the actors during their lovemaking scene and encouraged them to be more intense.
Background, off screen, is Danny Steinman, the director, yelling, "Come on, harder."
It's easy to see why people tag the word sleazy to part 5, but it's also par for the course when it comes to Friday the 13th. There have been plenty scenes of nudity and sex throughout the entire run of the franchise. This movie might have the most of it by length of runtime, but that doesn't necessarily make it an outlier in the films. Number 4, Tommy Jarvis. There are fans who are not big on John Shepherd's portrayal of Tommy. His is often compared to the light-hearted and fun style of Corey Feldman and the heroic, vengeance-filled depiction by Tom Matthews. Shepherd's Tommy was quiet, troubled, intense, and dealing with huge mental stress and delusions. It made him a character that is very distant not only to characters in the film, but to the viewers of the film as well. It could be argued that he has the toughest assignment of the 3 actors to portray Jarvis. John Shepherd took time and spent several months volunteering at a state mental hospital to prepare for the role. To be fair, John Shepherd did say that when he found out that the fake name of the movie, which was Repetition, was for the 5th movie in the Friday the 13th franchise, he was really disappointed. But I would argue that his involvement in the film and the franchise has allowed him to remain important to fans, as indicated by this video and countless others that talk about Friday the 13th, not to mention so many different conventions around the country and abroad. Concerning the Tommy character, there's no doubt that a kid that went through and survived what young Tommy did would cause him great anguish and trauma. I truly believe that John played the character in a way that made sense and was very believable. Number 5, Where's Jason? It goes without saying that this is universally the biggest complaint and reason why people hate Part 5. The movie plays it close to the vest early in the film and throughout, with a whodunit style reminiscent of the original. But eventually, we find out that the killer is Roy, the paramedic, pretending to be Jason to exact revenge for the death of his son, Joey. This has always been a problem for fans, and it was also a sticking point for me. As a kid first watching it, I thought the movie was okay, but was disappointed that it wasn't Jason who was the killer. I felt cheated by the movie and held it against A New Beginning for years, until I was a young adult. I remember deciding to give it a watch with an open mind to see what I thought. And to my surprise, I enjoyed it more than I remembered as a kid. Sure, I would have rather had Jason, but I understood what they were trying to do in the film. Roy looked, moved, and killed like Jason Voorhees, so in all essence, he was Jason to me. Obviously, I've made peace with that issue and was even more comforted when I got the chance to interview Melanie Kinnaman, who played Pam herself. She said it was easy to be in the role of the final girl and to assume that the killer was Jason because he was dressed like Jason and was coming at her with a weapon. People bring up other ideas and reasons for hating this film, whether it be the kills, the way that they were shot, and although that could be a very real debate and a reason to not like the film, there were issues with the MPAA, which the franchise had to deal with on several of the sequels. One thing to keep in mind as well, at this point in the Friday the 13th franchise, they truly were looking to move beyond Jason, and in this film, they found a way to possibly do it. I'm not saying that this was the best decision to make, but at that point in 1985, and with the landscape of the slasher movies dwindling down, this was maybe one of the ways that they thought could extend the franchise beyond what it already had become. The way that they chose to do it, having an imposter and also linking things with Tommy Jarvis having moments of anger, rage, and vengeance filled within him and lashing out at others, it really made for a good situation. That being said, this experiment with a new beginning didn't work out for fans in general, and so the filmmakers decided to come back into part 6 with a new storyline of Tommy resurrecting Jason, and of course this would set Jason Voorhees on a path where he was supernatural 100%. It was a move that was actually a good move for the franchise in my opinion, but we wouldn't have gotten there if it wasn't for the fact that Friday 5 had the imposter and drove Tommy off of the edge mentally. In reality, this video isn't to make you love Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, but more so to maybe understand where they were coming from and to possibly open your mind to see the good things that it does have, because when you think about it, this film has all of the elements of the best Friday the 13th films. At the end of the day, though, it is truly up to you whether you like this movie or not. I'm just presenting thoughts and facts. But what do you think? What are the reasons that you are not a fan of Friday the 13th, A New Beginning? Or are you a fan of the film? If so, let's talk about it down in the comment section as a community. And as always, if you haven't liked this video, please do. It helps to support the channel, and I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, this is the time to do it. Become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.